Okay, so let's just dive right in. The question that keeps coming up is, does history actually repeat itself? Or does it just sort of feel that way?
Exactly. And after digging through all this material, the thesis seems to be that history isn't repeating. We are.
We're the constant. So our mission for this deep dive is to get into those specific human behaviors, the fear, the greed that just keeps showing up, no matter how advanced our technology gets.
And the clearest place to see this is with the fall of civilizations. The sources are full of them. Rome, the Maya, ancient Persia.
And they all had this fatal confidence, right? This idea that their systems were just too big, too sophisticated to ever fail.
Completely. But their end never came from a single, big disaster. It was always a slow burn.
A kind of internal decay.
Yes, you see the exact same pattern every time. Corruption gets worse, inequality skyrockets, and leaders start making these really short-sighted decisions just to hold on to power.
But wait, if those warning signs, the inequality, the political division, if they're so obvious in the past, why don't we see them now? Or why do leaders today still manage to convince everyone the problem is somewhere else?
Because it's so much easier to point to an enemy on the outside than it is to admit the problem is structural. It's inside the house.
The human tendency to find a villain.
It's a much more compelling story. The technology changes, sure, but protecting your own ego and political power, that behavior is identical.
And that short-term thinking, it's not just in politics. We see it all over the place in global conflict.
Oh, absolutely. Wars still kick off for the same basic reasons: fear, territory, pride.
It's primal stuff.
It really is. The psychology studies and the sources are fascinating. They show we are hardwired to overestimate threats. It's why leaders who start wars almost always think they're going to win, even when the data says otherwise.
So we choose short-term destruction because we're afraid, even when long-term cooperation is clearly the better option.
And if that's how we act in war, it gets even more irrational when you look at economic cycles.
Right. The Great Depression, the dot-com bubble, 2008, every single time, the story is, this can never happen again.
And yet the cycle is brutally predictable. A crash happens, new regulations come in, but then people forget. The memory of the pain fades, and greed starts to creep back in.
And the rules get weaker and weaker. The sources call it regulatory capture, where the industry itself basically rewrites the rules to favor profit over stability.
It happens like clockwork, usually about 7 to 10 years after a big crash. Just long enough for us to get complacent again.
Okay, so this is the real question for me. If all these patterns are so predictable, what is it about our brains that makes us so blind to them?
It's an evolutionary mismatch, really. Our brains evolved to solve immediate problems. The lion hiding in the grass.
Not to analyze centuries of historical data.
Exactly. We're built for instant gratification, not for weighing long-term consequences.
And that's what fuels that fatal phrase, right? The one we hear before every single collapse.
This time is different.
Every time.
And it's coupled with something called historical distance. We think, because Rome was thousands of years ago, the risks they faced are somehow irrelevant to us. We forget the fundamentals are the same.
We also just remember stories better than facts, don't we? We simplify it all down to heroes and villains.
And in doing that, we totally miss the real story, the thousands of tiny compromises and ignored warnings that actually brought the system down.
So at the end of the day, history isn't a loop. It's a mirror.
That's a great way to put it. It just reflects back the same human constants, the fear, the greed, the hope. Every generation gets better tools to make the same old mistakes.
But since it's about behavior, the future isn't set in stone.
Right. Which leads to a little challenge for you, something we pulled from the sources. Pick one major historical event you believe could absolutely never happen again. A market crash, a political collapse, anything.
And then don't focus on the people involved. Just list the conditions that allowed it to happen, the inequality, the social divisions, the loopholes.
And then take a look around. You might be surprised how many of those conditions are already in place right now, just waiting.
Waiting for the human constant to do its thing.
Ah.
Something to think about.